Hi, welcome to the screencast for your turbidity lab. A turbidity sensor is a piece of equipment we can plug into our LabQuest, which we used recently, and measure the cloudiness or the turbidity of water. And I've got 5 different samples for you to check today, starting with distilled water, then using some tap water from our faucets here, along with bottled water that you buy like at a convenience store, a sample of water from Shingle Creek, and a sample of rainwater. So to use the equipment, step 1 says check to see that your LabQuest unit is powered on and the turbidity sensor is connected and recognized for the LabQuest. So I'm just going to show you, this is what your LabQuest looks like on the home screen without any sensor plugged in. And let me just go ahead and plug in the turbidity sensor here and you'll see the change. And right away it recognizes and comes up with a reading, and there's nothing in there right now, so that reading's not accurate to anything. And then step 2 says rinse the cuvette, the small bottle with the black cover, with water from the sink and dry. So I've got my cuvette sitting here. It's just the small bottle. There's a line up on the top you may or may not be able to see, a white line, there's an arrow. And here's the black cover that goes with it. So I'm going to go ahead and shake as much water out of this as I can. Dry it up. You don't have to, get real particular about getting the water out of the inside. You just want to make sure you rinse it well so any, leftover particulates and stuff you get rinsed out. You want to rinse it thoroughly between each test. So then number 2 says fill the cuvette to the line with your first water sample. And each water sample will be over on the island and it'll be labeled as to what kind of water is in it. So this one's distilled water. You can go ahead and fill this up. You need to get it at least to that white line. If it's a little higher than the white line, that's fine. You want to get it to the white line so you don't have any interference from not filling it far enough. And you probably can't see the liquid in there since it's clear. But then it says to put the cover on tight, but not too tight. And then the next instructions say gently invert the cuvette 2 to 3 times in case any sediment has settled. Now in distilled water and in our tap water, we would hope there wouldn't be any sediment, and I guess that would go for our bottled water too. But we're going to do it so we're consistent with all of them. Then check the cuvette for any air bubbles, and I'm not seeing any in here, but if you're afraid there might be some, you can go ahead and tap it on the counter, or you could tap it with your finger to try and drive any bubbles up to the top. And then step 4, holding the cuvette by just the cover, you're supposed to go ahead and wipe off the outside of the cuvette. You want to try and do this thoroughly. You can actually hold the paper towel and spin the bottle, which is what I'm kind of trying to do here. But you want to get that clear of any fingerprints or any marks on it. Then it says continue holding the cuvette by the cover. Place it in the turbidity sensor. And I'm actually going to set this down a moment and show you that this is just a little latch on here. You push it in and lift up. So I take my bottle by the cover. I want to see where that arrow is because this arrow has to line up with the arrow inside my sensor. So I'm going to go ahead and drop it down, line my arrows up, close the cover, and take a look at what my reading is. And you want to wait for the reading to stabilize. It may take it a few minutes. Not a few minutes, but a few seconds. But this is kind of bouncing around 9. We'll give it a few seconds, see if it continues to drop or not. And when you feel like it's stabilized, just make your best estimate. For instance, if this keeps going up between 8.9 and 9.1, I would just go with the 9. It's just a judgment call, and a tenth isn't a big deal. So once that is stabilized, you recorded your turbidity. Then you go ahead and record that on your data table. And then it says dump the sample from your cuvette down the sink and repeat steps 1 through 6 for the other samples. And that's all there is to the turbidity lab.